I had to hold it when clients who said, yep, I'm going to resign when I come back and blah, blah, blah. When they saw that the price was doubled, they were like, oh, never mind. And that really hurt. And I could see the repercussions of having these leadership conversations with myself and with my coach and holding the fucking standard.
Welcome to Did I Stutter with Jill Perick. And yeah, I probably did because I have a stuttering disability. But I'm also a multiple six-figure business and mindset coach who's here to help you shut down the mindfuckery of imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and playing the nice girl in your content so you and your brand can blow the fuck up and so you can stack the motherfucking cash. I'm holding absolutely nothing back. We're talking marketing, messaging, mindset, subconscious healing, nervous system regulation, and how to do it all even with raging anxiety, ADHD, and just being a fucking human. If fuck is one of your favorite words and nothing can get in between you, your iced coffee, or the work that you're here to do, I'm your girl. Let's dive in.
I really believed that a friendship overrode my need to be a legitimate business owner, my need to hold the standards for my business, because I had a client who I had worked with for over a year at this point, and we really just got each other. She was a great client. There were some red flags that I can see now, but honestly, we had a really good relationship, and she went from signing like 0 clients to signing multiple 4-figure clients over our time of working together. And she completely changed her messaging and how she was showing up, and she was creating offers and freebies and all that good stuff, all while being a mom and working a full-time job and doing all the things that she needed to do. But when it came time for her to re-sign for her one-to-one contract, she had already signed on before. It was time for her to re-sign. Not only had I given her a legacy rate, so a lower rate, but I also allowed her to join for a lower time period as well, for less time, also at a lower rate than I was currently charging at that time, because I thought I was being nice. I thought I was being the good coach. I thought that, well, if I'm offering this number, like, this is going to be a no fucking brainer. And you know what I also didn't do? I didn't follow the 60-day policy that I had of asking if they were going to resign, and if they said no or I don't know, that's totally fine. But that meant I had that time to fill that spot and continue, close up the container, blah, 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 blah. And then if they were to say yes, they were to sign a contract and put down a deposit depending on what container it was. So I had all these things in place, but the thing is when you don't follow them is when you get bit in the ass. And why people don't follow them is strictly because of discomfort, is strictly because of your emotions, is strictly because you don't want to be rejected. It is always something that comes up for the clients that I work with where they're super afraid to ask clients to re-sign. Some of them just straight up haven't, and have had clients kind of be like, okay, like, I guess the container's over. And they're like, oh, I think she like wanted to continue. Or they tell themselves that clients don't want to continue. And I'm like, you're counting yourself out. But it comes from the fear of rejection, the fear of being rejected in that moment. So they would rather just reject themselves. And that's what was happening for me. And I also just felt like if I enforced this, I would be a bitch, because this client had re-signed with me in different containers before. She was active in all the channels I was in, and it just didn't make any sense for her to not re-sign. So I was like, yeah, like, it's clear that she's going to. And then in that same month, I signed a contract to continue my mastermind that I was in with my coach. It was for a 2-year contract on top of the contract that I had already signed for a year. And I had to put down $1,000 in a deposit when I was already paying $2,600 a month for this mastermind. And I did it without blinking an eye. Okay. I did it without blinking an eye. I didn't think about, oh, this is kind of rude. Like, I'm already paying her. I didn't have any of those thoughts at all. And then my client, first of all, she did say, do you not trust me at some point, which should have been a red flag as well, because I was like, okay, like, we're coming up to the end. She asked for like an extension in Telegram that was from like months before, where she had like a week free in Telegram. And I was like, okay, it's not really like used for this purpose, but I will allow you to use it. And then she was like, do you not trust me that I'm going to re-sign? And again, I didn't clock any of these things, and you won't until after it happens, right? So I said, yeah, like, of course I do. She ended up saying on the day that she was supposed to start her new contract and send the payment, she said that she couldn't do it. And then I never heard from her again. I did express to her that, like, you know, I'm kind of like disappointed that you weren't just clear with me. Like, I totally understand, but I'm disappointed that you weren't just clear from the get-go. And I've never heard from her again. And not only was that like super jarring, like nervous system like wise as well, in terms of like, okay, this client who has been in my life for the last year, who I thought we had a really good relationship, who was active in all my channels and all these things, I would always sing my praises to anybody who would listen, all of a sudden just dropped off the face of the earth. Just stopped talking to me. So there there was that. But then there was also the glaring realization that I had abandoned my own standards because I was just not wanting to be seen as a bitch. I wasn't operating like a fucking business owner. And when you do this, it is more than just like a rejection. It's more than just you feeling bad about the fact that like a client didn't resign or she ghosted you or whatever it is, right? It's also a hit to your authority, your internal authority, because somebody could still see you as an authority, right? But how you perceive yourself and relate to yourself is what is going to make you the most money. Because if you don't see yourself as a big fucking deal, if you don't see yourself as a legitimate business owner, if you don't see yourself as somebody who is worthy of receiving high ticket prices for the work that you do, right? And like, this is just another one of the subtle ways that I was abiding by a fucking double standard, because when it came to my coaches that I hired, when it came to the clients who I coached, I expected the best out of them. I was like, you have a contract, you have a policy, you have SOPs, like this is what you do and you don't excuse anybody for it, because this is what a legitimate business owner does. And when you get in the weeds of like, well, it's this client and we have a good relationship and blah, 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 blah. If I was coaching a client, then we would talk about that, but I would be really clear, that doesn't matter. She is still a client. You have to separate client from friend, okay? And if it was the coach that I hired and I knew she was doing that, I'd be like, first of all, is that fair to the rest of your clients? And second of all, I don't know if that would affect how I see her authority, right? So instead, I of course was like, yeah, of course I'll put down this deposit because I respect her and I know if I don't do it, I won't continue to be in the mastermind. I will be causing an issue there. So of course I'm going to respect that, of course. And I don't think anything of it. She's running her business. And that's why I fucking hired her in the first place. But the thing is what happens is sometimes we see what other people are doing who we really admire, respect, and purchase from all of the time. And we would coach our clients to respect themselves, honor their boundaries, take care of themselves, but we don't give ourselves the same standards. We don't hold ourselves to the same standards because we have some type of belief that if I don't, I won't get what I want. Or if I do hold myself to the standard that I see her doing, that I tell my clients to hold themselves at, it's possible that I won't get what I want. It's possible that that client will not resign. It's possible that that client will be like, this is too expensive. I've had that too in the last year. And if you haven't heard the story of me like really revamping my signature mastermind, it used to be the From Imposter to Empowered program. And then I changed it to the Real Deal Mastermind. And the rate used to be half of what the rate is now. Half, if not even less than half, you know what I'm saying? And I had to hold it when clients who said, yep, I'm going to resign when I come back and blah, blah, blah. When they saw that the price was doubled, they were like, oh, never mind. And that really hurt. And I could see the repercussions of having these leadership conversations with myself and with my coach and holding the fucking standard. But this was a fucking leak, not just because it probably cost me like $10K in a client, because if I would have asked before, if I would have followed my own fucking policies, I could have filled that spot, right? I could have done a ton of other things, but I didn't. And it was because of how I felt emotionally, wanting to avoid discomfort and not valuing my own standards compared against anyone else's. Everyone else was allowed to have standards. Everyone else was allowed to do what they need to do for their business. But if I did, I was a bitch. If I did, I was cold. If I did, it's a possibility that people wouldn't say yes. And I needed to make sure that everyone could say yes. And that shit really affected how I also saw myself as a leader. And that will cost you the most of all. Because if you see yourself as a wobbly leader, if you see yourself as somebody who will falter the second her standards or her boundaries get challenged, you don't feel strong, you don't feel empowered, you don't feel resilient, you don't feel like people should pay you thousands and thousands of dollars to lead them. And that was a harsh reality check for me. And I was like, fuck, this is why I spent the first half of the year in an income dip. This is exactly why. It was the fucking double standard. And as soon as I cleaned this shit up, I collapsed time. I'm not just saying that in a fluffy way, like something that had been taking me months to do, I made $230,000 in sales over just a couple of months because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I have to hold myself to a different standard, to the standard that I allow everyone else to be at. The people who I was paying, I respected them so deeply. And I would never think that they were being a bitch. I would never think that they were doing anything other than being respectful of their business and holding themselves in a way where they saw themselves as a legitimate CEO. And I'm going to be diving so much deeper into this in Double Standard. This is a 5-day program where we are going to be diving into the specific double standards that you are abiding by. The invisible rules that you have in your head where she's allowed to do that, but I can't. She can be bold and professional and legitimate and she can do all these things and I will respect her more for it. But when it comes to me, I can't, or I shouldn't, or this is going to affect affect how many clients I sign. When it comes to your clients, you're telling them you should do this, you should do that. You're holding them to a higher standard, but then behind the scenes, you're not holding yourself to the same standard. And this also has to do with like worthiness, the inner work, like seeing yourself as a big deal. If it's common for you to boost up your clients, but then behind the scenes, you're feeling so bad about yourself and you don't tell yourself like, we need to get our shit together because we know that confidence is what signs clients, conviction is what signs clients, right? If you're not doing these things, it's because of this invisible double standard, and it is costing you money, capacity, and internal leadership, internal authority. Because when you see yourself as a big fucking deal, as somebody who is worthy of charging what the fuck she wants to charge, who really believes that she can hold herself to the same standard as the people who she respects, you will create a business like those people. It's only $22 to join. We start on the 13th of July, so in a week on Monday. And as soon as you get into the Telegram channel, you have an opportunity to join our bonus fourth call that we're having that week, as well as a podcast episode that I recorded specifically for you. It's like 24 minutes long and it is so fucking juicy, and you will get that when you join Double Standard. It's at the link here. I'll drop it here, and I can't wait to see you inside.